Hey everyone, I actually have 9 picks today, so probably about a 10-minute video just to kind of prepare you. Pretty good month so far, went 2-0 and then 5-2, so you're looking at 7-2 for the month. Nice start. 9 plays, a lot of plays, but just let me go in order. One of probably my favorite play of the game is this first one. It's actually a twofer. St. Joseph is actually at Rhode Island. St. Joe is a 5.5-point favorite. So again, for the people that don't like to pick these, conference road favorites, totally understand. But they are just considerably better offensively and defensively. Rhode Island's biggest weakness is their 3-point defense. They're actually 290th in the country in protecting the three-pointer. And, of course, St. Joe's strength is our three-pointers. They're at 5th in attempts, so they actually shoot a ton. 49th in percentage. So they shoot a ton, they make a ton. Considering it's also Rhode Island's weakness, I'm a big fan. I actually think St. Joe will just kind of go crazy tonight. So I like them to cover that number. Also, I like them to go over their team total, which is 75.5. They're just scoring a bunch of points anyway, and I just think this is a really good matchup for them. So St. Joe, 5.5-point favorites, 75.5 over. Those are the first two. Next one is Loyola, Maryland, and Colgate. They have a total of 136.5, 136.5. I like the under. It simply is the two offenses there. If you look at their KenPom rankings are at 184 and 343. So defenses are kind of middling, 154 and 253. And their pace is 267 and 321. So I start looking at the bad offenses, a little bit better defenses, and a really slow pace. And I'm thinking they're not really going to score a ton of points. 130. If you're looking at 136.5, 137. You start looking at like a 68 to 67 game, or 69 to 68, I guess. So you're creeping up to 70. I don't think either team gets to 70. Worst case scenario, one team hits it, the other team's, I don't think they would both actually hit it, so I think we're going to be okay. I looked at Loyola, Maryland. In their last 6 Division I games, they haven't scored over 64 points. They've been in the 50s and 60s. And Colgate, over their last 3 Division I games, they scored 64, 65, and 57. So neither team is playing their best offense right now. I just think with everything I said before, I think I don't think neither team's really going to hit 70. Pick number 4 is actually Holy Cross and Bucknell. They're under 132.5, 132.5. So it's 4 points under what I just said, but basically the same reasons. I start looking at the offense, the defense, the pace, and the fact that these teams are scoring, 50s and low 60s. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Holy Cross and Bucknell, but I'm also going to take the under there, basically for the same reasons I just gave you of Loyola, Maryland, and Colgate. So pick 5 is Stanford at UCLA. Stanford is a 4.5-point underdog. This is, other than St. Joe, this is probably my favorite. I really think Stanford wins it outright, but I'm just going to take the 4.5 points. Again, UCLA not playing very well. We know this. Good deed, not scoring a lot of points, and of course their pace is actually pretty slow as well. But Stanford has been putting up a lot of points in their last 12 games. They've hit 70 points in 10 of them, at least 70 points in 10 of them. They just put 100 up on Arizona. UCLA they actually hit 72 points in that home loss against Cal Northridge, but it's the only time they hit 70 in the last 8 games, and they lost 5 straight. I honestly think Stanford wins it outright, so it's kind of a lean for me, but 4.5 points with Stanford, just scoring more points. It's really just that simple. So then pick 6 is Kansas City and Sacramento. Sacramento State. Again, it's another under 136.5. Again, bad offenses, slow pace. Kansas City hit 77 points last game, but they're consistently in that 50s and 60s. In the last 4 Division I games, Sacramento State also in the 50s and 60s. So similar to those other 2 games, this is why I like the under. Just it's worked out so far for me this year, and this is the way it's going. Game 7. South Dakota State, and then Weber State. 140.5, 140.5, and I like the over in this one. They're kind of decent to mid offenses and defenses, but lately both teams have been scoring a bunch. Weber has actually hit 84 plus in the last 3 Division I games. I just think they're going to score. When I look at the numbers, it's probably going to be somewhere in that range. There's no reason for me to think they're going to score fewer than 84. And South Dakota State's got a good enough offense. I think they'll do their part. So I think that one may actually hit closer to 150. So 140.5, I like. Number 8 is Fresno State at San Diego State. I know why this line is this way, but Fresno State is actually getting 16 points, which is 15.5 to 16.5, depending on when you got it. I saw it at 16. So Fresno State 16 they're getting. But San Diego State, I know they just beat Stanford, and then they just beat up on Gonzaga. But before that, they had lost to that Grand Canyon team, which is a decent team, but still it's a small school. And then they lost a couple of one-point games to UC San Diego and then Cal Irvine. So they weren't playing their best ball. The last 2 they actually have scored quite a bit. So if you don't, so if you think San Diego State's just going to blow them out again, go for it. But Fresno's a nice middling team. They're a little inconsistent. They play well and then play poorly. I just think it's a pretty good spot for that. It's just a lot of points. So I'm going to take Fresno and the 16 points. And then my final play is the Indiana Hoosiers. And I've said in a previous post for anybody that watched it that I'm an IU fan. So I don't do a lot of betting on them, and again, I never bet against them. But their offense has been better of late, mainly because they're attempting and they're, of course, making more three-pointers. That's been their 2 big problems this year, of course, defending the three-point line and then scoring enough from 3 points to make up for it, because their front line is just so dominant, so big and athletic. But they're attempting more threes and making more. I believe they're 38% over the last 6 games, and that counts Auburn and Kansas, so some pretty good teams. Averaging about 7 for 17, so they're shooting more, making more. So they've been scoring a little bit more, and then I am pretty sure the way it looks that Xavier Johnson is going to be back tonight. He's missed all these games. So when you have your 6-year point guard coming back, your offense should run a little bit more smoothly. And nothing against Gabe Cupps, who was, the freshman they kind of threw in there, but he attempts like 2 or 3 shots a game, and just not what he does. So he's just kind of been, so it's really been, 4 guys, or, 4 starters actually scoring all the points. So it'll be different if and I assume he's healthy enough. It looks like he's playing, and if he's going to play, then I assume he's healthy enough to actually do some damage. So getting him back will be pretty huge. So the fact that they're attempting more threes, making more threes, and I assume the offense will run a little bit better. I know, so they're playing at Nebraska, and Nebraska's played pretty well, but they've also played a really poor schedule. So tonight is a good game to figure out exactly how good these guys actually are. But the Indiana's total is 72.5, and I think they'll go over that. So that's 9. That's a bunch, but go at least 5 and 4 to break even, and hopefully 6 or 3 and more. So thank you.